Welcome to Legends of Grayskull, the Masters of the Universe podcast that dives deep into the lore of Eternia, Etheria, and more. Join your hosts Matthew Dooch and Sean Scavarna as they discuss the most powerful stories the universe has to offer. News, remasterings, and more are just ahead on Legends of Grayskull. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 61 of Legends of Grayskull, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Etheria, Nordor, Primus, New Adventures, Old Adventures, Ladybird, comics, mini-comics, UK annuals, anything and everything you can think of with that He-Man, She-Ra, Masters of the Universe, Princess of Power, that Filmation logo right across the screen. I'm Matthew Dooch. Unfortunately, Sean Scavarna cannot be with us today, but luckily we've got a special guest host. Let's all give a warm Legends of Grayskull welcome to the director of Powers of Grayskull, Nintendo Quest, Action and Figure Adventure, and so much more. Host of the Jay and Rob Toy Show, our great, wonderful brother to the north, Mr. Rob McCallum. How you doing today, Rob?
Doing well. My goodness, there is a lot of He-Man just listening to your intro. Oh, I feel like I need a pot of coffee to catch up with that. But yes, thank you for having me a guest host. This is a title I did not expect. I thought I would be a little cameo appearance saying, hi, how's it going? I've got this thing happening. You may like it, you may not like it, but you'll probably like it.
No.
So here I am. Thank you.
Here at Legends of Grayskull, we're all in this together. So you come on, and you're right here with me, and well, maybe just slightly below, but you're right there. The pedestal's there. We're all right there.
I like somewhere to grow. I need some motivation to get up there. I don't need to be even keel. I can be bottom rung, and I'm just as happy. It's okay.
You made it here though, and we're happy to have you. So, obviously, the big thing on everybody's mind is faking Filmation. So we'll get to that a little bit later.
What is that? I've heard about that.
I think you've heard a lot about it, and hopefully you're going to tell us even more today.
Okay. I'll see what I can remember when we get to that part. Oh God, I hope I don't blow it.
Nothing. You wouldn't let James down, and I know that. You know that, and James knows that. So, but first, what we like to do every time somebody comes on first, we like to know a little bit about it. All right, if we're going to talk Masters, we're going to talk documentaries, I need to know who Rob is. So, as much as you're comfortable giving us, basically just a quick bio, name, age, occupation, location if you want, and then really we like to know how long have you been into Masters? Did you ever get out of Masters? And what drew you back to Masters? I think those three questions kind of gives us your MOTU biography.
Sure. Well, as you said, my name is Rob McCallum. I hail from Canada, though I'm a dual citizen. I lived in the U.S. for a good chunk of time, about a decade, and then returned to the Great White North about 4 years ago. Now I have a family here. And He-Man has always been a part of my life. I'm 39, so I was born in 81, and Canada always got stuff like a year or two later, 6 months to a year, depending on rollout. So when everything started hitting shelves in the US, we were delayed a bit, which is great for me because I got to grow up just a little bit behind the curve. And even after those 3 or 4 banner years of Masters toys, they were still on the shelves for a long time. So very heavily influenced my childhood. The Filmation cartoon in particular influenced the way that I played with the toys. And then a real sad thing happened. My parents got divorced, and I was somewhat whisked away in the middle of the night by my grandparents, and I could only take what I could grab and keep with me. Oh. And by the time my grandparents tried to go back and get all my other toys, because I had a near complete run from what I understand, even Randor and the Sorceress at that point, it was all gone. It was all gone.
Absolutely all of it. Gutting. Mm-hmm.
I basically only grabbed, I think, a handful of Superpowers, the Superpowers Batmobile. There may have been like Grizzlor or something like that. Not a lot. And that's probably when I stopped playing with Masters, and it was right around the time TMNT was coming out. So it's just like, oh, wow, this thing was blowing my mind. And Captain Power, too. it's like, yes, this is all fun. This is all great. I want to get into this. There's so much about TMNT that borrows from the Masters DNA. It was such an easy evolution to go there, and real Ghostbusters too, to different extents. And so it wasn't until probably the mid 90s when I started researching like He-Man again. Oh, I remember that show. And I remember a couple of video stores started going out of business in the mid to late 90s, and they had He-Man cartoons on tape, the Magic Window stuff. And I picked up 2 or 3 of those, and like putting them on for the first time, having not seen this show in 10 years, was just, whoa. I remember all this and getting the chills and the feels as Adam walks forward out of the shadows at the beginning. And of course, the thing that always did it for me is that Filmation logo at the beginning.
You knew you were
like,
in for gold.
It cues you up
yes.
for everything that's about to come. And like just talking about it, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Every time.
That was it. That was it. It was understanding, trying to figure out what episodes were out there. How can I get more tapes? Are there other video stores that are going out of business? And then I really didn't go hardcore because I was only like 15 or 16 years old, didn't have a ton of disposable income. But around the turn of the century, there was already starting rumors to be of this new He-Man show that was happening. It was like, oh my God, no way. And at that point, I had started buying up a lot of the toys again. The local shop here had them. I mean, I was getting Scareglow for like $6.
Oh yeah.
Just in a loose bin, you know, nobody really knew any different, with the halberd, the cape, everything, you know.
Yeah, I got
so I remember only being like 10 figures short at that point. It's like, oh my God, I got like my whole collection back.
Right. And that was the time to do it. I remember I picked up from a comic shop, I picked up a slime pit that I never had as a kid. Mint in box. I opened it. And it was like $12, $15. Like nothing. You know, but that's what it was. It was just, I wanted to experience what I didn't have as a kid.
And I remember the Mike Young cartoon, the 2002, 2000X, whatever your vernacular preference is, came out, and my friend Jay, who features in a lot of stuff that I do, and we do our toy show podcast that you mentioned, he had taped the beginning, the 3-part episode that aired on Cartoon Network in the summer. I think it was August. And he watched it, and I came over after work. He's like, oh, dude, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, what? He's like, it's so good. And that's all he would say.
Yep.
And so, you know, we had a couple beers, and we basically went up into his old school bedroom because he was still living at home. And we put the tape on, and it was just like silence for 90 minutes. And he had already seen it, but he was still like hooked, brought right into it. And that's what really probably ignited me as a He-Man fan. Which is different than just growing up with something. You grow up with something, you can like it, but it's hard to call yourself a fan at, 6, 7, 8 years old. A fan is when you, I think, actively are making the choice to continually surround yourself by this thing when you don't have to. So easy to identify in stuff like sports, of course.
Yes.
But you can still take that same ideology and wrap it around the world of pop culture. So between recollecting the vintage run in the early 2000s and then the Mike Young cartoon coming out, that's when it really kicked into overdrive. And I don't even think at that point I had known about New Adventures, but I had never seen it.
Right.
So discovering that too was a trip, and never hating it, just like, oh, that's a different version of He-Man.
Yes.
That's cool. Just accepting it for what it is. It doesn't have to be, oh, this isn't my He-Man, or like even with the Mike Young cartoon, it's not like, oh, I don't like this. This isn't that, because there's obviously a lot of homages to the Filmation stuff. But I always just kind of like every iteration and try to find the things that really work about it, rather than, douse a certain pail of mud on it because it isn't exactly the way that it should be. Nothing will be the way that you remember or feel. So try to find why it works for what it does. Even Thundercats Roar should have probably some redeeming features, maybe.
Oh. I'm not going to touch Roar, but I think you got some words of wisdom, stuff we brought up on the show before. It's, stop comparing them all. Like, nothing's going to hit that Filmation magic because, we're not the same person we were. The industry's not the same thing it was. And it's a different time. You can't judge it by that. You can't put Filmation against Mike Young Productions. A different...
Agreed.
I mean, and I always like getting... whenever I get guests from other countries, I like to talk about this because I know, especially with, Masters being, Mattel's US based, Filmation was US based. I really like to hear about what it was like. So here in the U.S., and you probably don't know my backstory. I'm sure you haven't watched the show before, but I'm actually younger than you are. I was born in '85. So all of my growing up was the Magic Window, the RCA, the VHSs. I saw half of an episode on USA Network at my grandma's one time. That was the only television episode I saw. Everything else was the VHSs, the storybooks, all that. And it was a great time for me because I was at the tail end of everything here. So I was getting all these hand me downs from like older cousins and, friends of my mom. Their older kids got out of it. So I got boxes with like Snake Mountain Fright Zone in it. So that was really cool. But so what was it like in Canada for? I mean, I know you said that they were kind of 6 months to a year behind. But like we had Filmation on every afternoon here, Monday through Friday. Is that how it aired up there? Did you guys get all the
Yeah,
episodes, or?
yeah, I want to say that that's how it aired. I distinctly remember like that summertime vibe as a kid growing up.
Mhm.
Again, raised by my grandparents, they had a pool in their backyard, and I remember swimming kind of after lunch until a certain point where it was like, oh, He-Man's gonna be on, and then like rushing inside and waiting for the Dukes of Hazzard to end for He-Man, and then I think it was Transformers that was on after,
Right.
and just watching that for the hour, and then it'd be close to dinner time. Um, it was very much along the lines of something like that. I don't know if they got all the episodes. I don't know
Okay.
if we were watching from an American station, because where I live in southwestern Ontario, we routinely picked up signals from Detroit and Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
So I could have been easily watching an American feed versus a Canadian feed. The
Gotcha.
2002 stuff, that was definitely from a Canadian broadcaster that picked up the rights to it. And it aired routinely on Saturday morning, which
Mm.
was great because I know in the US, the 2002
Oh,
Mike Young series jumped around a lot, and people like
yes.
didn't know when it was on and when they could find it because the ratings were all over the place. But the ratings are going to be all over the place if you keep jumping it around. So
Exactly.
fortunately, I got to watch the whole run consistently of 2002 as a college guy. So
And
that was okay.
and you guys lucked out because your station did it the right way and played all of season one episodes, ending on that cliffhanger of Council of Evil Part 2. Whereas in the US, Cartoon Network felt that kids wouldn't understand a cliffhanger. And so we didn't actually get to see Council of Evil until season two started. So that
Well,
was.
that's not really great though, because we
No,
got a
it's
cliffhanger and
horrible.
had to wait. We had to wait, even though
Well,
it was the right way to do it.
but like you said, but to me, I think that was a big misstep because Cartoon Network, like you said, they're already worried about the ratings. They're jumping all over, which is hurting the ratings. And then you end off with it would have either been The Island or Separation. I'm sorry, I can't pull out the exact episode. Instead of a two-parter that leaves you on a cliffhanger, where any kids that were watching it would have been like, I got to keep an eye out for season two. There's a reason
Yeah.
seasons end on cliffhangers. But the funny thing is this, like you said, this was the days early 2000s. I got on a torrent sharing site, and some lovely Canadian had uploaded it, and so I downloaded it and saw it when it was supposed to be. So, but it's just great how the internet has brought everybody together. Um, but so obviously there was a lot of difference between the way Filmation came out and nowadays. I mean, it's a bygone era of television. Even like you mentioned, the real Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like that was a whole different time. And we even talked about it last episode. Well, with me and Sean, we talked about the afternoon blocks, the Saturday morning cartoons, and all that has gone by the wayside. And I think this is the
Hmm.
perfect opportunity for you to launch into telling us what faking Filmation is all about, because I think it ties all into this, and that's really why we went down that rabbit hole last episode.
Yeah, and again, the goosebumps are coming back because you get it. It's so clear that you get where I'm coming from and what I'm hoping to do with this documentary. For those that you don't know, you gave a lovely intro at the beginning. I am a pop culture documentary filmmaker. I've done projects on video games, Nintendo Quest, video game box art. I've done projects on heavy metal, particularly a live concert and the biopic for Kitty, which is an all-female band from our area. I've done Action Figure Adventure, a 10-part series. You can get the Blu-ray in limited quantities right now in Big Bad Toy Store. I love pop culture, whatever it is.
Below.
Oh, cool. There you go. Look at that. I'll send you your 2 cents for that click.
Nice.
That's what I get. and I've been dying to get into the world of animation and cartoons. We got to do a little bit of it with Power of Grayskull, The Definitive History of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, which is on Netflix. And after, me and my colleagues were able to do Power of Grayskull and get it on Netflix, I thought, well, I don't know that there's going to be another He-Man documentary I ever want to do. So I kind of want to leave it on the floor. And we covered a lot of ground in that 90-minute, 2-hour film. And then, of course, Mr. Etok comes along. And now James is somebody that I had been tracking or keeping an interest in since around 2008 or so with Serial Geek, which is his magazine, dedicated to 80s cartoons, bringing in, professional illustrators and guest columnists and putting together basically everything that you would expect to get from a podcast, but in a nice, shiny, high quality produced publication.
High quality.
And from that point on, he'd always kind of been on my radar, to the point that when we did decide to go forward with Power of Grayskull, I'm like, we have to get James Etok. This guy knows everything, specifically about the cartoon stuff by Filmation, and can talk about the legacy and impact, which is, one of the goals as well. So I thought that would be done. And then I started shooting Action Figure Adventure, and I wanted James because he was going to be at PowerCon, and we shot a ton of interviews at PowerCon. And that's when the Return of Faker really came to a head. I had heard about the Return of Faker, this unofficial fan love letter that he had done, this homage to Filmation and the people that really shaped his appreciation for animation for like 3 years, because he'd been showing clips and he had been talking about it, and he basically wanted to recreate a He-Man cartoon, not even look and style and feel, but in the process. Filmation is known for reusing movement and their same as library, so that you get a lot of the same sequences, and motion is copy and pasted from one episode to another with a different background. And that's the approach that James took for this. And I thought, oh, that's really fascinating. And then I got to see part of his presentation at PowerCon where he explained how he did this. And I thought, wow, that's great. And then in the same breath, he also talked about the cease and desist that he got.
Yes.
I thought, oh, this is too good to pass up. Here's a man who loves cartoons and loves 80s cartoons, and animation has completely shaped his life. And if you've seen any of my work, with the exception of Power of Grayskull, all of my films usually follow a personal story. So what is going on today that gives me credence in the ability to go tell a bigger history lesson or delve into an industry?
Right.
James is trying to get this cartoon out there. Let's talk about cartoon history as we follow his journey. And it was the perfect match that allows us to go back to the late 50s when cartoons first started, when people everywhere, broadcasters, are trying to figure out, how do we create something for kids? The time was there, but the content wasn't. And that's when we first started to get like cartoon shorts that were originally intended for the theater, where you have a short and then the feature. A lot of those shorts got repackaged and put together and became part of Saturday morning. We had our first foray into primetime cartoons. That didn't work. And of course, there's stuff that kids need to do in the morning through the week and after school through the week. So that's when we got cartoons as well. And just charting that evolution and to see who the players were and the role of Filmation in particular, which was a pioneering studio at the beginning of the Saturday morning forefront. It's just like, James is doing something that's related to Filmation. Filmation is a pioneering studio. This is all tied to the world of animation and cartoon culture. I have to do this documentary. And when I talked to Erica Scheimer about this, she's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm on board. Let me know how I can help. And I said, well, honestly, it was your interview from Power of Grayskull that has been stuck in my head for the last 3 or 4 years, when you kept talking about your father, Lou Scheimer, who started Filmation, being at the forefront of the cartoon animation industry in America. And of course, that Filmation story is beautiful on its own right, starting with Lou, who hails from Pittsburgh, and then coming to LA and being the last American animation studio, and then finally succumbing because they got bought out. There's so much beauty to it, and it allows us to do so much that I can't wait to really dive in feet first to see what happens with James, of course, and what's going to happen with the return of Faker. Is he going to be able to get it out there? Under what conditions? Will he throw caution to the wind? Because, you know what, screw it. You know, 3.5 years demands an audience. And then just to revisit with people from Filmation, that some of which that I admit, others that we didn't get to meet for Power of Grayskull, and really focus not just on He-Man and She-Ra this time, but all the other cartoons, you know, Fat Albert, Black Star, the Ghostbusters, everything. Let's do it.
And the thing is, you really start bright, which I'm sure you guys have, and James has an encyclopedic knowledge of these things. You start looking at those end credits from any of those Filmation shows, the list of names on there, and what not only came before, but especially what came after. All of those guys went on to amazing careers, some of them even outside of animation. I mean, you got, just off the top of my head, you got J. Michael Straczynski, you got Paul Dini, I mean, Larry Houston, Bruce Timm was a layout artist. I mean...
The reach is far and wide. It's quite incredible. I mean, even David Wise, who's no longer with us, sadly, wrote so many of the TMNT episodes. Gwen Wetzler, you know, she started her career at Disney. She said when she was a little girl, she had a dream to be a Disney animator. And she got to do that. And then she decided to work at Filmation, and she was one of the only women directors out there. It was fantastic. And she won an Emmy for, I believe, her work on Fat Albert. She was the one that did the original Grayskull commercial and did the true 24 frame animation that sold the playset. And then, of course, that was like, oh, maybe there's a cartoon series here. So basically, you know, a lot of her work and involvement was how the series got going. So there's just tons of stories like that.
I mean, you could from go, everybody. That's the thing. I mean, you're looking at this, and I'm looking at this, and it's like there are so many avenues to go down, and that's what's so exciting about this.
So there's no shortage of discussion or things to cover. But this is the great part about Kickstarters, and we're on Kickstarter right now with Faking Filmation. We had our initial goal of 30,000. We surpassed that. Then we had a second goal of 37.5 to get alternate artwork. We passed that. Then we had a goal of 50,000 for an expanded version of the film that would allow us to basically shoot more and include more. We passed that. And so, like, every time we get, you know, a little bit further down the road, we get to cover more and interview people. And the best part about that is create more and more bonus content. So the film that we're doing is going to be, you know, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. But what is all this other stuff? And what can we share? And can we cobble together some of these other interviews that expand upon some topics that we only get to touch upon in the main film? And do we get to do roundtables with, you know, former Filmation people? Like, well, that'll be a fun thing to show people. Do we get to, you know, look at somebody's private Filmation, you know, art archives and share that stuff? If we've got the time and we're going to be with these people anyways, what can we create to share to give our backers that ultimate experience? So that's where we are. And I'm a full believer in, let's shoot as much as we can and then shape it later, knowing that there is nothing that ever gets wasted.
Right. And so you beat me to it. I was going to hold the drama a little bit more, but congrats to all you guys blowing through those goals. I mean, I know when you initially threw it out there, it went online 8 days ago today, right? Last Tuesday?
Yeah, April 6th is when it went online, depending on when people listen or watch this. April 6th.
So it went online April 6th. Today's the 14th. You guys blew through your big goal in, 6-7 days, depending on where the clock hit when it happened. God, that's got to feel amazing. And so what do you do now? I mean, you've already blown out all your stretch goals. What can we do?
Well, first of all, it's surreal, and you and I have been talking offline in private chats for the last week or so as we've been arranging our discussion today. And I completely transparently said to you, I didn't know if he would get funded. James thought, well, maybe we'll hit the 30,000 in 25 days of the 30-day campaign. And I said, well, James, no offense, I've done like 6 or 7 Kickstarters. Kickstarter is a lot different than it was 10 years ago when I first started using crowdfunding. And it's a little bit harder to get people to basically take a pitch from your couch saying, this is what I'm going to do. It's going to take 3 years, be patient, but I'll do it. And that's essentially what we did. We showcased it, and it's very professional. Of course, James has a lot of credibility and clout, and I've done a lot of stuff as well. But I mean, this is my film. James is just the subject. He has nothing to do with the film. He has nothing to do with the production. I'm just following him in his journey, which is only, like we said, one part of what you're going to get with Faking Filmation. So I didn't know that we were ever going to hit the mark. And then the numbers started coming in. I was like, oh my God, like people are loving this.
Yeah.
I was like, I still don't know how to respond to what's going on. I really don't.
Yeah, because you hit that.
What happens next, you know, to answer your question,
yeah.
Well, we have a mystery stretch goal at $65,000 that we'll unveil in a few days to our backers, unless we hit it before the Friday deadline that we've tentatively set. We will unveil that, and that'll be another treat that'll benefit a lot of people if we're able to get it. The goal right now is basically to get the word out there. We think that the hardcore people that are in our circles, our 500 plus closest, you know, best friends, are aware of it, and that's why they've backed it. But even our Faking Filmation page on Facebook has over 1,000 likes, and it's only like a month or two old. We don't have 1,000 backers, so there are still people that don't know about it or haven't committed to it yet for a bunch of reasons. So we really need to get the word out there. And it's not about getting, you know, people on the $1,000 pledge tiers or the $200 ones or the sponsored tier at $2,500. For those people that want to have their name and the logo of their podcast or their convention at the top of the film. That's not about that. That's cool if that's what you want. We just want to make sure that you can get the $20 digital bundle, that you can get in on it, that you get all these goodies that everybody else gets, and just help spreading the word. So we're basically in the mode of getting the word out there right now, and that's what we got to do. It's less about the stretch goals and more about let's make sure everybody knows, because once that window closes, it's over. And I'll get tons of people saying, I missed it, I couldn't do it, I didn't get paid, taxes, things were tough. I get it. When the film is released, however it gets released later, that's when you'll have to do it. This is a one and done. Kickstarter is all or nothing. We've passed that initial goal. This is your chance to get on board now.
And I think that might be a part of it too. I know there are those people, even though Kickstarter is set up nicely, where you close on May 6th, and so that is when, you know, all of our pledges will come due. Which I think is fabulous. That way people can jump in, it gives them time to add on, whatever, and then settle up at the end of it. But I think some people do hesitate. They go, well, what if it doesn't make it? And they're leery about that. So, you know that, guys. Just get on their pledge. You know, it's happening. You hit the 30. You hit your goal. You hit the 50. As of right now in the recording, I just pulled it up. You're sitting at $55,116. So we only got just under 10 grand to go to hit your 65 mystery goal. I mean, that's amazing. I'm one who I thought you would hit the 50,000, but I thought it would be the coming down to the wire. Hey guys, we got 5 days left. We're almost there. You know, let's get a little more in this. You know, even in my wildest dreams, and I have been championing this for a long time, ever since James first announced it, I never thought you guys would hit it that quick. And
I still don't know what to say. All I can say is thank you to all the supporters like yourself, like everybody else that has different, you know, masters groups or Filmation groups or cartoon groups or documentary fans. It's the one nice thing about having created so many pop culture documentaries at this point and being a part of a few different scenes, depending on what you're into. I've got a little bit of a track record now where I've done stuff and I've gotten it out there, especially with Power of Grayskull. I mean, had that not be out there and people not responded the way that they did to it, I think this may be a different story. If James Etok wasn't part of this campaign and this wasn't focused on him, again, I think it's a different story. But those are things that we can't ignore. And there's been a lot of people that have helped make this happen. Even the trailer, I had a good friend of mine, Nathan, help me just source a bunch of cartoon clips so that we could include that in there on top of everything. I was sending messages back and forth to James. I'm like, James, I need these kind of shots. I need this kind of material. What can you do? Help me out. Get me this stuff so I can build this trailer. And he was on pins and needles because he didn't get to see the trailer until like 3 or 4 days before it went live to everybody. I'm like, dude, I am so busy with so many things right now. I am trying to get to it. I know what I want it to be. Just be patient. He's like, okay. And then he watched. He's like, oh my God, this is great. This is awesome. It's everything that I wanted it to be. I'm like, okay, cool. And then here we are now. I don't know where it's going to end up. We do have a couple things planned. Like I said, we have that $65,000 mystery goal. And when that gets unleashed, I can tell you this, that anybody that has basically backed a physical product, which I think starts right at the DVD, so DVD and higher,
right?
They'll get something. We try to keep the digital backers away from it because there's no shipping built into their tier, so they can just kind of enjoy the content. And I know what that's like. I back a lot of documentaries just as a digital thing because I want to check it out. Don't necessarily need it on my shelf. But if you're a physical backer, when we hit that 65, hopefully you'll get something really kind of cool. And we think people are going to lose their minds over it.
Nice. And that's only, if you're talking any physical, that's only 29 or more, right? The standard DVD counts?
Yeah, that's right. So okay. I don't know how it's going to work for the VHS backers yet because they'll definitely get it. I don't know. It's hard to say. I can't say too much.
Sure.
If we hit the goal, you'll understand what I mean.
Alrighty. And, but I'm just saying, I mean, that's how affordable this is. $29. I mean, I know guys who spend more of that at Starbucks in 3 days, So I mean, you get in for $29, you get a physical copy, you get digital copies of everything, and, you get something awesome if we hit the stretch goal. And I will say that is one of the questions, if you want to address it here, people have been asking online, are you going to introduce more mid-range tiers, especially as things are getting closed up? Some of them were limited. So why don't you go ahead and take that one?
Yeah. Are we going to add more mid-range tiers? Probably not. There's only so much that we can do. Some of those mid-range tiers I've already expanded and added more slots than initially planned. And now I'm just at the point where if I were to include more chances for people to be in the film, I would be uncomfortable and that I wouldn't be able to do them and their presence and their footage and their responses justice.
Okay.
We've got, I think, 25 or so, I think maybe 30 when you look at some of the other tiers that offer it as well, slots to be in the film. Well, that's a lot of people for a 90-minute to 2-hour film, which is why we also say, end credits, you could be there giving a memory or bonus features as well. So we got a little bit of flexibility in how that works. Adding more tiers like that only makes it more difficult and more complicated to justify the experience to both the tiers that may be above it in cost and below it. Finding those sweet spots is really hard. So when I designed the campaign, it was very specific in mind. We will look to do some more add-ons. So Kickstarter literally just announced their beta for add-on items because in the past it was, I'm going to back at this reward level and I'll get everything that's in this predefined box. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there would be an additional campaign after like a backer kit where you could add on like a poster or a t-shirt or something. Now Kickstarter has realized if they built that functionality in, they can, make money off of those additional items. So having add-ons as little things that people can choose to add, extra discs, a VHS copy of Faking Filmation, a poster, that kind of thing, I think is something that's easier for us to control so that if we were to do like a second poster or put a t-shirt up or a pin or something,
right,
then that's a way that everybody can do it without having to be out of their comfort zone. And then they can gauge if they want to spend that money on just that one thing versus creating this whole reward tier with, conditions and requirements for it to work.
Yeah, I like it. And that was going to be the next question. Where are the t-shirts? Where are the posters? Is there a chance of those
t-shirts
coming?
Are very tricky.
Okay.
T-shirts are very tricky. Thankfully, we work with Retro Rags. Posters are up there already as an add-on. You can get our official poster through them if you add it onto your pledge, and that'll be through Retro Rags as well. MOTU Joe runs that shindig for us. T-shirts are really tough. You got to remember, you've got to have t-shirt styles for, men and women, and then multiple sizes. So you're talking small, medium, large, extra large, double X, triple X. And that's a lot of, inventory to house when you have minimum requirements and stuff like that. So we're very leery of stuff like that. And t-shirts obviously increase the shipping container that stuff has to come in, which includes shipping prices. And then half our backers, or at least about 40% of our backers, are overseas as well. So that's an expensive thing for them to take on as well. So we're looking at, shipping is out of our hands. If you want it and you want to pay the shipping, that's a decision that you get to make. I'm a firm believer in let you decide, then remove the option from you. But people are like messaging us. They're like, why is my shipping like $75? I'm like, well, because you've got the Blu-ray, you've got a poster, you've got 2 additional Blu-rays, you've got a VHS, and each of those costs, $5 or $6, even when you're adding it on into the same package. And some of that stuff is going to get shipped from other places. Like people are selecting James Etox's personal sketches that he's doing. And they're going to ship from James up in England, not from us. So that's a completely separate shipping thing. And that's why the cost is the way that it is. We're doing what we can. We're not a retail store. I am me. I don't even have a team. It's just me.
Right.
And, James is doing a crap ton of promotional work for the campaign. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know where we would be, of course. But it's just me. I don't have a giant company. I hire people on that I work with routinely for all these projects for the sake of production, but before in development and writing, it's me, and post-production, it's me. So here I am. I'm not a store. I don't have, SKUs of tchotchkes or action figures that I can, whip up without legal, infringement and stuff. I'm doing what I can to get to satiate everybody's excitement. And I should say, another thing that you and I talked about offline is the cost of Kickstarter and what the actual dollar amount that we end up with. So we're at, $55,000 right now. Let's just say 60 for a round number. Let's say we end at $60,000. Well, Kickstarter takes 10% right off the top, 5% for their platform fees and 5% for credit card fees. So 10%. So now we're at 54.
Right.
The 54,000 also represents shipping charges that are in there as well. So somebody from Germany that's paying 35 or $70, depending on what they got, that number is built into that. So we lose probably another 20%. Okay. So 54 now we're down to 42, maybe a little bit less. So we're about 2/3 of what you see there is kind of where we begin. And then the cost of discs, add up, the cost of posters, the actual material, anybody that we have to hire to help us fulfill this, because at 500 backers, for me to do it by myself would take a few months. It might be what happens where I do, 10 to 20 packages a day and then ship them off and then get done. But if we got to hire people, then that's what we got to do. So it's about half the number that you see there is what we'll end up having for the budget for the film, which obviously won't cover all our costs. Legal and insurance for a film is $10,000 alone. Travel, hotel, lodgings. There's probably going to be 4 or 5 of us on the production side. Meals for how many shooting days, travel, gas. It adds up. Making movies is not cheap.
Right. And that was eye-opening for me. I'm glad you felt comfortable sharing it. And that's why I asked about the mid-range tiers too. I love your transparency. I love how you're up front. And I guess I just want to put out there, but obviously, this is your 4th Kickstarter? I could be wrong there. I'm going off memory.
I don't even know at this point.
I've done
a bunch.
I guess what I'm getting at though is just to bookend that is, you knew this going into it. You knew that when you set these goals, when you set those tiers. So everything you've done has been very purposeful. What you have done, what you haven't done, and what you're putting out there.
Oh yeah, it's all by design. I would love to charge, $15 for a DVD if I could, but I know that like a goods cost on a DVD, the slipcase, the art insert, the disc, the shrink wrap, and the shipping alone is $9 plus the design costs for the actual artwork on top of that. And then you have to look at, okay, well, what's my markup? Because if this is costing me $12 out of pocket for every one, how much do I have to make on this in order to help the film? Well, you kind of multiply it by 2, right? So that's where our budget is coming from. And it's unfortunate, but if we sell more discs, pre-order through Kickstarter, then obviously our costs go down because the units don't cost as much, but it's not like a huge savings. We're not doing tens and thousands of these like, Warner Brothers would.
But again, all that really does is, okay, if we can get the discs up, your cost goes down, but you sold them for the same price. So that's more money I get to put into the film. That means
that's right.
We might potentially get an interview with Gwen that we wouldn't have gotten because you would have ran out of funds before that. I mean, I'm not.
It's honestly really that simple.
Yeah.
No, it's honestly really that simple. When we hit these like, barriers, these milestones,
right?
They really trigger a lot. If we get $1,000 more than we are today and it ends, how many more interviews does that add up to? It's hard to say right now. On the campaign page, I put up there, what's the difference between 30 and 50,000? Yeah. It's like, well, we'll be able to shoot a lot less.
Right.
It's that simple. And how does that impact the film? Well, with more filming and shooting, you get to see more people. You get to see more of everything. And what you don't see in the film, you'll get to have in the bonus features. So, hitting 75, hitting $100,000, the film will only always be better as a result.
Right. No, I love it. I'm looking forward to it. I like putting it all out there so that everybody knows. I manage a grocery store. I completely understand where you're coming from. A lot of times people who aren't in the know, and even I didn't. I mean, I understand the profit and everything, but I didn't realize how expensive these things can really get to. I mean, when you stop and think about it, it makes sense, but a lot of people don't think that. They're just thinking about what they're getting. I'm paying $30 for a DVD, and it's like, no, the hands are it's in our hands, the viewers, the consumers, what we're going to get. And that's the best part of all this.
Yeah. I mean, to give people an idea of, the cost to make a movie, we typically run a cost anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a day is what it costs us with a crew, depending on what's going on. And that's no travel. So if everybody was in the same town, what is everybody's fee plus equipment costs and insurance to shoot that every day?
Right.
And so again, looking at 30 to 50,000, well, there's $20,000 difference. We can get about 20 more shoot days out of this.
Nice.
So it's great. I love it. I love being a filmmaker. I love being able to do Kickstarters because I feel like it's a great galvanization point for the community to come together and get excited by it. It's cool to talk with people like yourselves and, share those feels about what this could be and where it could go. And then it's also nice that once it's over and done, it's like, okay, the pressure's on. Let's get together. Let's organize it. And let's make this thing wicked and keep talking about it on the way. And I love sharing updates with people. Stuff that I would find, is day to day to me and routine, excite other people. I had this interview or this happened, or like we got a flat tire. Like people love the story of the story. So that's been a fun thing I've done in the last few campaigns, just sharing as much as I can that makes sense.
And the last question I had real quick here, I don't know how much, I don't think you'll probably be able to go into specifics, but just to give people kind of an idea based on your previous documentaries, I got some people that are wanting to know what the requirements are going to be for the tiers where you get to be in the film. I think some people are worried about whether they'll be able to participate. So, I mean, are you looking for, you need like, I'm sure not, but like a studio sound booth and lighting and everything, or I think that's where they're coming from. What do I need to do if I back that tier?
Well, thankfully, everybody has a fairly decent camera in their pocket now with their cell phone at the very least. We would prefer 4K resolution shooting. You're wearing earbuds right now. That gives pretty good audio quality with the mic built in. And then the ancillary stuff like recording in a quiet room where, you don't have kids dropping Lego above your head is always nice. And having nice lighting, that goes a long way. But hey, while I will not be at PowerCon this year because Canada's vaccine rollout is abysmal on a global level, we are sending a crew to PowerCon. So if you're going to be at PowerCon and you are backing that tier, we will arrange to chat with you there and shoot you with our cameras so that we can get you in the can. We will be visiting a lot of different places to make this film happen, and we will let people know through updates like, hey, we're going to be in Nashville, or we're going to be in New York, or we're going to be in England. Any backers that are from there that have that tier, let's plan to meet up so we can talk to you. Failing that, if you're in an area where we're going to interview somebody else, we could come to you. Failing that, we can figure out something remotely where it's similar to like a Zoom thing and capture it. For documentaries, content is always king. It's about what people say the most. Quality is kind of second on the level. Like there are broadcast requirements where it has to be of a certain quality level. But that's why we have bonus features. And that's why we can put some of that stuff that might not be technically proficient at a certain level. We can make you still part of some important discussions and moments.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, I think that's about all I have. If there's anything else you want to share here at the end, feel free.
Yeah, basically just want to say thank you for everybody that supported the campaign so far. It's overwhelming, it's touching, and anything that you can do to basically help us get the word out more. If you've got podcasts, radio shows, news outlets, blogs, websites, YouTube channels, and you feel like this is something you want to talk about, go ahead, talk about it. If you want to ask myself any questions, I'm happy to answer. James is pretty friendly with responses. If you want to have either myself or him on as a guest, just reach out. We will try to make it work. Like I said, right now, it's the numbers game of getting the campaign in front of as many people as possible so that they get to enjoy it and experience. And everybody that jumps on board makes it better for the whole. It's that simple, but I'm extremely ecstatic that I get to tell this story and I can cross off cartoon-based documentary on my pop culture resume.
Is there anything you're looking to the future here? Is there anything you're looking forward to do that's on that list? You know, you're crossing off cartoon with this one. What bounces around in Rob's head? What do you want to get to at some point? Is there something else? Sleep.
I would love to get to sleep. I don't know what
vacation.
I don't know what vacation is. I don't know what being bored is. I love what I do. It's not a job. It is work, but I absolutely love it. And anything that you can think of it's probably on my list. Comic books, a return to video games, records, CDs, anything, quintessentially 70s, 80s, 90s. It's on there. I love making films, and if I think there's a worthy story to tell, usually in that formula of what's going on today that makes it worthy talking about what happened then,
right,
that's probably something that I'll look at. But no shortage of ideas or opportunities right now, which I'm very, very thankful for.
Do you see yourself ever doing another Power of Grayskull type documentary where it was just entirely the subject in the history, or have you preferred your modern day subject, being the mirror looking back at the past?
I never say never. I just think there's something that helps make, that brand, that canon, that thing, that subject matter more special when we can point to something happening within that today. And I think it becomes more relatable, and I think the story becomes more human. In fact, there is another He-Man present day story I would love to tell, but I don't know what part of Masters I would tell in order to justify it. Maybe it'll be just a short documentary, who knows, or tie into something else that I do. Nice. But it's a cool idea, and that would be about the only He-Man thing that I can think of. And who knows, it may even be part of faking Filmation since it's already in my back pocket. Would I do it with another brand like Mask, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Turtles, Thundercats, Silverhawks? Maybe. Yeah. But I always feel people can pick up a book or go to Wikipedia and read that stuff, or just glean it from podcasts. So let's do something that nobody else can do, and that's follow a story as it comes to fruition.
Makes sense. All right, and now just the last thing before we wrap up here. Rob is going to reveal that 65,000 mystery stretch goal for all of you viewers, right, Rob?
Yeah, if you just follow me on Twitter at Rob McZob, on Instagram at Rob McCallum Films, or go to my website, robmczob.com, you will find all the information you need except what is that mystery $65,000 stretch goal we have on our Faking Filmation page. It will be revealed on Friday, so I urge you to back the campaign, get on it now so you get that mystical, magical answer right away. The sorceress is casting a spell to try to remove the mysterious shroud of darkness that's over that information, and hopefully on Friday she thinks she'll have cracked that Eternian code and be able to reveal those fabulous secret answers.
Yeah, there you go, guys. I'm sorry. I tried. It's locked up tighter than Grayskull right now. So, we do want to thank Rob for coming on today. All you guys out there, take a look. Got all the links down below. Follow Rob, follow James, follow Faking Filmation. Check out the Kickstarter. Buy some retro rag swag from MOTU Joe. Click everything. Get Action Figure Adventure from Big Bad Toy Store. I still need to ship my pile of loot where it's sitting right now. I'll get on that today. Maybe. As soon as I do something else, I'll hit it, and that'll tick me off. But thanks, Rob. You've been great, and we wish you guys all the success. And I have no doubt, I'm putting on record, that you will hit that 65,000 stretch goal. So,
thank you, sir. Look forward to the next time I can come around.
Absolutely. We'll have to have you back. We'll have to have James on, and it's going to be great. So, as we say here at Legends of Grayskull, thank you guys, and until next time.
Oh, come on. Oh, Rob! Oh, Bear. Oh, Bear. Oh!